Hello, everyone, and greetings from the Japan Foundation Kuala Lumpur. My name is Connie, and I would like to thank all of you for joining us here today on FB Live for our JFKL Talk Series. This series is initiated to reach out to everyone and introduce more about Japan through the lenses of professionals in various fields. Today, for our fourth episode, we are very delighted to have Yap-sensei with us. With her, we will take a closer look at the literature of Haruki Murakami, who has gained worldwide popularity. Allow me to quickly share a little bit about Yap-sensei. She was born in Kuala Lumpur and is currently working as a freelance translator and column writer. Approximately 300 of her translations have been released through publishers in Hong Kong, and she started in the early 1990s, where one of the Hong Kong publishers actually contacted her to translate Murakami's works like Norwegian Wood, A Wild Sheep Chase, and also Dance, Dance, Dance. Besides being a translator of Murakami, for Chinese readers, she is also a researcher into the topic. Yap Sensei is also the author of Taking a Walk with Peter Cat, a map of Haruki Murakami's literary world, published in 2020 in Malaysia. This is just to show you, this is her book, and you can actually borrow this from our JFKL library, as well as the other Haruki Murakami titles as well. So for those who are not familiar with Haruki Murakami, he's one of Japan's most celebrated authors and translators. He was born in Kyoto in 1949 and he graduated from Waseda University in Tokyo in 1975. He ran a jazz bar and coffee shop called Peter Cat with his wife called Yoko before making his debut as a writer. And in 1979, Murakami began his literary career with his first novel, Hear the Wind Sing, and he won the Gunzo Literary Prize for New Writers and followed up with more works, including popular titles like Norwegian Wood, A Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, Kafka on the Shore, and Ichikyu Hachiyon. The themes of his novels were often centered on love, loneliness, and self-perception. The now 74-year-old Japanese novelist has published 14 long novels, dozens of short stories collections, over 100 essays, travel writings, and non-fictions, all of which have been translated into 50 languages and have sold millions of copies in Japan and internationally. And since the topic of this talk is regarding Murakami's writing, I would like to share one of his most famous quotes taken from his book, Norwegian Wood. If you only read the books that everyone else is reading, you can only think what everyone else is thinking. Today, Yap Sensei will share her personal experience of reading and translating Haruki Murakami. She will walk us through how she encountered Murakami works, and then she will give us a brief introduction of his novels. She will then talk about the so-called Murakami phenomenon. We'll then take a short break before we go into the second part, where we looked at different types of methods used in translation. And wrapping up her talk, she will describe how Murakami literature is received in Malaysia. And we will end the whole talk with a Q&A session. So if you have any questions that you would like to ask Sensei, please share them in the comment section and we will collect them in for the session later. Without further ado, let us welcome Yap Sensei.
Hi,
Hi Sensei, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you.
That's good. I'm good as well. I'm so happy to have you here with us. I'm sure the viewers as well that's tuning in. Okay, are you good? Shall we start?
Okay.
All right, over to you, Sensei.
はい。Thank you. はい、こんにちは、皆さん。はい。I'm happy to share with you with Murakami Haruki. And actually, this is my first challenge to give a talk in English. So please forgive me if I make any grammatical mistakes. Okay? はい。I'll share with you just like Connie just talk about. There are few subtopics that I should. It's not moving. Okay. Okay. So these are the outline for today's talk. Firstly, I'll give a brief overview of Murakami literature, and secondly, the Murakami phenomenon, and also the translation strategies of Murakami works. And lastly, the reception of Murakami in Malaysia. Okay, and this is an essay collection of Murakami. It's also available in English, Novelist as a Vocation, or as a vocation. Okay. So first of all, I would like to share a little bit story about Murakami and myself. Okay. Actually, my translation works started in 1987, and then about 3 years later, in 1990, my engagement with Murakami began in Hong Kong. The time, just like Connie said, a publisher in Hong Kong invited me to translate because from 1990s onward, Murakami has gained widely popularity, and a lot of readers start to read Murakami from 1990s, and then I start to translate Murakami, but only for 3 titles only: Norwegian Wood, A Wild Ship Chase, and Dance. Because of copyright issues, then I stopped translating his works. Okay, and for me, I have further engagement with Murakami when I receive invitation, that is to join an international symposium called A Wild Haruki Chase: How the World is Reading and Translating Murakami Haruki in Tokyo. And this symposium was organized by Japan Foundation and Mainichi Shimbun. Okay. So after the symposium, the next year, luckily I obtained a one-year fellowship to do research on Murakami's literature at Tokyo University. My advising professor is Professor Fuji Shoujo Sensei. Okay, and then after the symposium, 2 books were published, one in English, one in Japanese. That is, okay, A Wild Haruki Chase. This is a report for the 2 days symposium, and this is the English translation, but not as thick as the Japanese, because these are mostly the articles from some of the very famous translators and Japanologists. So if you are interested, you can get it from the bookstore online. Okay. And later, I would like to share some of the photographs, which is memorable. So this is one of the training camp. After the 2 days symposium, we have a workshop, and we have 2 days training camp at Lake Yamanaka, that is near Mount Fuji. And some of the images which are very memorable, I would like to share with you here. So this is a scene from the symposium. You can see he is my advising professor, Fuji Shoujo, and French translator, Ms Etlin, and a Russian translator, Ms Kovalenin, Taiwanese translator, Ms Lai, Korean scholar, Professor Kim, and a former Harvard University professor, Mr. J. Rubin. And so this symposium is focusing on the novels and their translations of Murakami about 12 years ago, in March 2006. So we have a very enjoyable trip to Yamanaka, Lake Yamanaka. So these are some of the translators. We still keep contact. She is from Norway. She is from Denmark. And Professor Anna is a Polish translator, but she's currently teaching at Boston University in USA. It's me, and he is a critic and a scholar from Hong Kong. And she's Miss Lai, the first Chinese translator who discover Haruki Murakami. Okay. And then we visited Mishima Yukio Bungakan, the literature museum of Mishima. Okay, and okay, this is the scene of the workshop. And okay, Professor J. Rubin and me. Okay, we have a lot of photographs, but because of time, so I just show you some of it. And then after that, we have a chance to meet Mr. Haruki Murakami in Tokyo in 2008. After the symposium called East Asia and Haruki Murakami, organized by Tokyo University, because there is a joint research project, and then this is a report of what we have to do the research on Haruki Murakami. So Ms. Lai, me, professor from China, and Professor Lin, who is the main translator of Chinese, simplified Chinese version. So this symposium held on the 1st of November in 2008. Okay. And then 2 days before the symposium, 4 of us visited Haruki Murakami, but regretfully we are not allowed to take picture with him because Mr. Murakami is very shy. His secretary remind us, please don't take pictures. So we cannot take picture with him. Okay, so we are Chinese translator. Okay, Chinese language translator from left to right, Ms. Chang, I, Professor Lim, and Ms. Lai. And then that day I told Connie that some of us still keep in contact. Why? Because we have a common language, that is Mr. Murakami. Okay? And how we keep contact is because we still meet each other privately, or individually. In some occasion is during the seminar or conference on Murakami's work, and through email or to Facebook. Okay, so it's a really precious friendship between us. And we have a seminar. This is in Hokkaido University. And okay, and I also invited Ms. Lai from Taiwan to visit Malaysia to give a talk. And then this is University Tunku Abdul Rahman, where I've been worked there for about 10 years. And then this is group photos, and also okay, all of them are researchers or critics. So I think this is why we still keep closely contact each other. Yeah, because we have the common language. Right. So let's make a brief introduction of Murakami's literature. I would like to share with you. Firstly, is, as you know, Murakami's novels, they have various themes and motifs, but the most important, the the theme is called magical realism. I think most of you know that this is originated in Latin America. For example, Marquis, 100 Years Solitude. So in Murakami's literature, you can also find most of the content is describe the work of a fiction. It's a fiction story where fantasy slip in. So it's not fully realistic and not fully fantastical. But Murakami, he knows how to make the balance. In our daily life, we know that the world is everything will happen, and Murakami opens our view to know that in our daily living, something will occur, which you can't imagine. But this is the attraction of Murakami's work. It's really very imaginative, and also will bring you a lot of fantastic revelation to know things. And then you observe many things in our daily life, then your life won't be so dull. And also, most of his works are focusing in love and loneliness, loss, and also alternatives and surreal worlds. And in his novels, you can find music plays a very important, significant role. As you know, Murakami, he likes music, all sorts of music, jazz, classical, pop song, anything. Include the 1980s, 1960s, the Beatles, he liked very much. And also the story you can find, they're divided into detachment, in social detachment and commitment. Before the 1995, before the Kobe earthquake and the gas attack, Murakami's work are mostly social detachment. He just writes something about himself. Murakami is 100% individualistic. And also, he's very subjective. From his novels, you know that anything, what you think, you should not follow other people. You must have your own thinking. And after the 1995, the earthquake, and we know that his writing style changed to social commitment. So the topics change. The titles also change, like the Wine Up Chronicle. You have talk about the Second World War, and talk about the Kurds, right? The Om Shinikyo, all this, and that's the changing of Murakami writing style. We'll talk about later, okay? Sorry, the screen is not moving. Oh, okay. Now just give a brief introduction for his works. In 1979, Murakami released his first novel, Hear the Wind Sing, and this won a prize for best fiction for new writers. Okay. And after that, in 1980 and 1982, he published The Pimple, 1973, and A Wild Ship Chase, which gained a Norma Literary Prize. Okay, and so these three novels constituted a trilogy of Red. As you know, the early works of Murakami Haruki, all the protagonist has no name, nameless, and mainly the characters also, they use a pseudonym, like the Shipman, like Iceman, TV Man. Okay, the twin, there's the twin appears in Pimple 1973, named as 208 and 209, or all these sort of pseudonym. And in 1988, he returned to early trilogy with Dance. So these four books actually, the characters are connected. Okay. So these are the covers of these books. You can read it online also. And in 1985, the Red appears in his book called Hard Boy Wonderland and the End of the World, which awarded the Tanizaki Prize. This prize, Murakami Haruki is the first writer who was born after the Second World War. So this is a really very, very precious prize. And in 1987, Norwegian Wood, a so-called a coming-of-age story. Actually, it's a love triangle between the protagonist and two girls. Sold 4 million copies in Japan. So because of these novels, firmly established him as a literary celebrity. And because of these novels, Murakami's phenomenon occurred. And in 1994 to 95, there are three books. Okay, so before this, we know that because the Norwegian Wood is so the bestseller, so unprecedented, so that Murakami ran away from Japan. So he stayed in USA and Europe for a few years until 1995. Okay. And when he was teaching at Princeton University and Tufts University, he wrote these books, South of the Border, West of the Sun, and the Wang-Apert Chronicle, which he won the Yomiuri Prize for Literature. So these are the cover of these books. Okay. And then in 1995, as just mentioned, the Kobe earthquake occurred in January 17. And at the same year, the sarin gas attack in a subway occurred. So this changed Murakami writing style from a social detachment to social commitment. And in 1997 and 2000 years, she wrote a non-fiction account of the subway attack underground and after the quake. You can get all the translation in English also. And in 1997, Munich Sweetheart, which proves the nature of loves. In 2002, another bestseller comes out. There is a Kafka on the Shore, which awarded a few international prizes, include Frank Kafka Prize and New York Times 10 Best Book of the Year. And in 2004, After Dark, a short novel of encounters set in Tokyo between midnight and dawn. It's also a very interesting story. And these are the covers. Okay. In 2009, Ichikyu Hachiyong, which is a reference to George Orwell's 1984, also released, and yeah, it caused another boom. And in 2003, colorist Tsukuru Tazaki and His Years of Pilgrimage was released. And then this is the only book translated into Bahasa Malaysia. This is the title, Tsukuru Tazaki, Tanpa Warna dan Daun-Daun Gembala. Okay. And 2 years later, that is 2017, about 6 years ago, Killing Commendator was released. So these are the 14 long novels released or published. And so these are the covers also. Okay. And Murakami's, we know that he was heavily influenced by Western culture, include Western music, Western literature, and his living style also very westernized. In his novels, you can find spaghettis, how to make a sandwich, and he drinks whiskey. But he seldom, I think I never find any novels he's eating sushi or eating takoyaki. No. So he's really a very westernized writer. And this is the Bahasa Malaysia cover. Right. So these are the long novels written by Haruki Murakami, as I mentioned just now. These are the Red series. And I want to mention is a new book will be published in April 13. Xinqiuxia, the publishers already announced this. So we are eagerly awaiting for his long novels after 6 years. Okay. So this is a brief introduction for his novels. And beside long novels, he also wrote a lot of short novels. Short novels. Essays, collections, non-fictions, even picture books. Okay, so you can find a list of short stories, collection, essays, and non-fiction online. Okay, and I also will recommend you to check. This is a database created by Japan Foundation called the Japanese Literature Translation Works. There's a database. You can find all kinds of Japanese novels. Okay. So these are some of the English translation. As compared to Chinese version, English version is not as much as Chinese version. So they combine some of the short story into books like Blind Willow, Sleeping Woman, The Elephant Vanishes. But Chinese version will be faithfully translated all. Already more than 50 books, I think. But English version is not as much as Chinese version. Okay. So this is the newest book. The first person singular is a short story collections. Okay. A Man Without Woman. Sorry for this is okay. These are the books you can find from the bookstore. In Malaysia also, you can visit MPH or Popular Bookstore or Kinokuniya. You can find a lot of Murakami's collection. Okay, so let me proceed to the second topic, that is, what is Murakami phenomenon? Okay, there's always one question to be asked. Why Murakami is reading by so many people around the world? Why Murakami? So we can explain in one phrase. Murakami's popularity was known as the Murakami phenomenon. And his books regularly make the bestseller list. And his work gained even more popularity and appreciation through translation. So more people know Murakami because of translation. So translator is very important. And then I want to talk about the groundwork for the appearance of Murakami phenomenon in Japan. After his debut, that is the first novel, Here the Wind Sings, was published. Then the newspaper media start to interview him and then talk about his writing. His writing style is so flash, and the rhetoric is very, very attractive. If you never read Murakami, this is the time for you to read. Huh? Okay. And the newspaper articles portray him as a new hope whose work has brought a breath of fresh air into the literary world. It's rare to find in other Japanese literature, like a lot of music and the instinctive elements of literature you can find in Murakami works. Okay, and Murakami boom actually gained momentum in the 1990s, and with the translation of Murakami works put out by publishers in East Asia, especially Korea, mainland China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, but not Malaysia. Malaysia, just now I've mentioned, only one title was translated in Bahasa Malaysia because the translation, the copyright is too expensive. This is one of the reasons I think about. Okay, so this signifying the true beginning of the Murakami phenomenon after 1980s. That is after the translation of Norwegian Wood. Okay. For example, I give one example as the Haruki Murakami Research Center in Taiwan. Okay, started by Tamkang University. So this research center established in 2011. It's called the Haruki Murakami Lab, founded in Tamkang University, and they held an international symposium from 2012 onwards. So this year will be the 10th anniversary. So we have a lot of translators from all over the world were invited to join the symposium. I'm here, Ms. Lai, Professor Lim, Professor Cheng, and some other translators from or scholars from Japan and other countries. And all this were published into books. For this symposium, they have a specific title. Then all the translators or all the scholars, they will devote an article. So these are the collections. Okay. So just now we mentioned about the Murakami boom in Japan, and then because of Norwegian Wood, which touch of unprecedented boom all over the world. So translation studies become a hot topic for the academic field. So let's talk about the translation strategies of Murakami works. I would like to share you with a simple and easy understanding phrase. So translation is not only from words to words. It's more than just changing the word from one language to another. Actually, translation builds bridges between cultures. So here, introduce some of the translators in Japanese English version. The three main translators are Alfred Birnbaum, Philip Gabriel, and J. Rubin. And for Japanese Chinese translators, we have Lai Mingju from Taiwan, Lin Xiaohua from China, Si Xiaowei from China also, and Ye Hui, myself. Actually, I'm a Malaysian, but because my translation works published in Hong Kong, so not many people know that I'm a Malaysian. They all thought that I'm a Hong Kongese. So as shown here, the first English version is A Wild Ship Chase, translated by Alfred Birnbaum in 1989. This is the third long novels of Murakami. And Ms. Lai, he is the first to translate Murakami's short stories in Chinese, and he published Pinpoint 1973 in 1968. That time is not actually a boom because Murakami is still new to Chinese community until Norwegian Wood. So the translation of Norwegian Wood touch of an unprecedented Murakami boom in East Asia, include Korea, mainland China, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. And then Malaysian, also they start to read Murakami works. Actually, as from my point of view, the Murakami phenomenon actually is a Norwegian Wood phenomenon, because most of the readers, especially younger generation, they like this book because it's because it actually is a very sad story, right? It's melancholy and loss, loneliness, all these elements you can find from these novels. Okay, and according to a Polish translator, Professor Anna, she found that the English translations were heavily edited by Murakami's American translators and editors, including the Wine Albert Chronicles, Hard Boy Wonderland and the End of the World, and Ichikyu Hachiyon. If you read the English version, you can find that it's shorter than Japanese version. If you want to know the reason, you can write to the translator. Okay. So for translation, actually, it's not only just translate the language because of the different cultures. For example, the American and British English, the vocabulary. You cannot say that who is correct, who is not correct. American go for vacation, while the British go on holidays, right? And then New Yorkers, they live in apartments, while the Londoners live in the flats. And you have the difference between elevator and lift, cookies and whiskers, soccer and football, and so on. So this vocabulary, fortunately, the difference between Americans and British English can usually be identified through the context of a sentence. And then, meanwhile, there is also difference in the vocabulary between Chinese language used in China, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and Malaysia, or Singapore. For some translation of fruits, vehicles, and some special terms, they are not standardized. So for Chinese translators, you can find the difference between the vocabulary. Okay. So let's talk about the two different strategies used for translation recently. This domestication and foreignization, these two strategies were coined by Italian scholar called Vanuti. Okay. What is domestication? Actually, you can use this word localization. That means the translation tends to adapt the source text to the target culture, with the aim of making it easier for foreign readers. And foreignization implies an effort to preserve the culture of the source text by employing loan translation in the target text. We can call it exoticism. And this is, they are also argue between these two different methods. And for Chinese translators, three-facet theory of translation was used. It's called faithfulness, means it's faithful to the original text. It's more to domestication. Expressiveness means is accessible for the target readers. And elegance, it means the translation is is easier for the target reader to understand, by the language to be educated. So this is close to domestication also. I give some example here. Regarding the language, translated from one language to another, it's a matter of translatability and untranslatability. Some vocabs you cannot translate directly word to word. And there are also the problem of untranslatability between Japanese, English, Chinese from the intercultural perspective. Always something that can get changed, twisted, or even lost in translation. It will not be 100% original after translation. I give a very simple example. I miss you. How to translate in Japanese? There's no exactly translation for I miss you in Japanese. Some may say aitai, I want to meet you. Or sabishi, I feel lonely. That means I want to meet, I miss you. Koishi, I love you. So I miss you. So this is not only for I miss you. You can find like yoroshiku. Yoroshiku, normally when I teach Japanese in class, I say pleased to meet you. Yoroshiku. But actually the meaning is different in Japanese. But there's no exact translation in English. For example, otsukare-sama. In English, they may say, oh, you did a good job. And for some titles, like The Great Gatsby, in Japanese, even they have different translation. The first translation in 1989 by Nozaki is Kalenaru Gatsby. But Haruki Murakami, he translated as Great Gatsby in 2006. And Hong Kong, they translate as this word, 大亨小传. 大亨, something like the tycoon, the autobiography of a tycoon. And mainland China translated as means a remarkable Gatsby. So this is because of the linguistic gap in different languages. So they have different translation. Okay. So lastly, we come to the topic of the reception of Murakami in Malaysia. Okay. So I mentioned about the Look-East policy, which was launched in the early 1980s. Malaysian young people, because of this policy, which was launched by that time, our former Prime Minister, Dr. Mahathir. So many young people began to be very interested in Japanese pop, including Japanese cultural products like manga, animation, TV drama, J-pop music, etc. So some of the readers, they start to interested to read the Japanese literature. And that time, many Murakami readers, they develop a newfound interest in Japanese literature more broadly. And some of our writers or our culture figures like musicians, they were influenced by Murakami's works, and then some of them start to be more broadly read Japanese literature, including the classical literature like Genji Monogatari. And for Malaysian readers, the Murakami fans were drawn to his flash style and rhetoric. It's so fresh, and it's urban literature and sophisticated. Murakami's works portrays modern people's sense of loss and loneliness, and also inducing resonance among readers of different ethnicities, languages, and cultures. So Murakami, he breaks all this difference. And I would like to say that the literary supplements of mass media actually they act as a cultural publicity agent. Before 1990s, there's no internet, no computer, no handphone, so people will read a newspaper, and the literary supplements are the main source for them to know Japanese language and also like Japanese culture. And I can say that Murakami was widely known in Malaysia with the help of the mass media. And the newspaper and literary journal plays an important role in driving his book to become such hits. And in 2009, book that is this is a collection of the research, the joint research established by Fuji Shoujo Sensei. So so we have articles to include my report of the reception of Murakami in Malaysia was also in this book, and this is some of the covers of my translations. Right. Okay, so finally I want to introduce my book, Taking a Walk with Peter Cat, a map of Murakami's literary world. And so I have been visited the scenes of literary works and places related to the narratives, including a tour of location they have served as a setting for his stories. So I have some pictures. So this is a Kobe High School. This is Murakami's alma mater, located in Kyoto Prefecture. He studied here for 3 years. I visited this school, and then this is a background of Dolphin Hotel, appears in Dance, and also a wild ship chase. This is actually this is 25 stories, but in the book it's 26 stories. So Murakami is capable to change some of the contents. And I also went to, this is in Hokkaido, this is in Sakaide. Sakaide is located in Shikoku. And this is a background of Kafka on the Shore. There's a library called Komura Library. So this is the prototype. Okay. Hi. So lastly, the conclusion, I would like to say this by cited a quote from Murakami's first novels. There is no such thing as perfect writing, just like there's no such thing as perfect despair. The meaning is, there's also no such thing as perfect translation. You cannot find a translation 100% original or can match all the translation, all the original text. So Murakami works succeeds in translation and finds a global audience. And we know that language is a medium of communication, and translator act as a bridge between cultures. In Malaysia, a big issue is the shortage of literary translators. That day also, a staff from Japan Foundation inquired that whether I know the other translators in Malaysia, but really regretful that I know only one or two, but they are all retired already. So I hope that more and more readers or scholars, academic fields, you can you can have a newfound interest in translations. Okay, these are the resources for this presentation. Okay. So that's all for my presentation. Thank you for listening. And you can write to me if you have any opinions or comments. Hi, Miss Connie, I pass
Yes.
to you.
All
Hi.
right. Thank you so much, Sensei. There was such an interesting sharing on translation and so how we got to see culture plays such an important role in that. It's not just translating direct word to word. And we also got to see a little bit about Murakami's literature being received in Malaysia as well. All right, Sensei. So for the Q&A session, are you ready?
Okay. So
Mm.
I just need to answer these four questions. Is it four questions? Is it?
Yes. Yeah, we have some questions from the Facebook, and I've already compiled them. I'll read the first question so that everyone can, will know what we're asking. Okay, so the first question is, are there any concepts or phrases in Murakami's works or in Japanese in general that does not exist in the target language? And if yes, how do you translate those naturally in a literature work other than adding a footnote to explain things? Okay. So there's almost like two compartments to that question. Yeah,
Mm.
maybe we tackle the first one. So are there any concept of phrases that does not exist in Murakami's work or in Japanese language in general?
Oh, okay.
Mm.
Can I answer now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Uh, there is a short stories called the spider monkey.
Yes.
So they use a lot of onomatopoeia. So how to translate this word? We can't translate. So we use only exactly the same the sounds of the original words.
Mm,
Because
okay.
it's not real.
Right. It just sounds
How can a monkey talk?
right, right.
As you know, in Murakami's novels, there are many things which is ridiculous. For example, fish will fall from the sky, okay, and the man can talk to the cat. And there are
Oh,
two moons hang on the sky.
right, right,
And you can make elephants in the factories. All these ridiculous we call is impossible.
right,
But
right.
but but in Murakami's literature, you won't feel that is a ridiculous.
That is the universe he set up for us then.
Yeah. So for the translator, we just translate as the original by using onomatopoeia.
Do you add like a footer whenever you translate, like to explain what this is?
If
Do you need to?
if necessary, we'll put it in a bracket.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I hope that answer your question. The person that sent this in. Okay. The next one is the lack of English translations. I think you may have addressed it during your sharing earlier, compared to Chinese due to the difficulty in translation or just due to lack of translators. Is it the same case like in Malaysia as well? Mm.
The English translation is more easier.
Okay.
During the workshop in 2006, the English translators say that they won't feel difficulties in translating the onomatopoeia or some words which
Mm-hmm.
is originated in English or other European languages. But for Chinese is quite difficult. So
Oh,
so we sometimes we have to add some footnotes or to explain in our local language.
okay. Because I think you mentioned earlier about that Chinese translations of Murakami works, correct me if I'm wrong, that there's actually more than the English titles. So we're just wondering, is the lack of that because it's difficult to translate, or is because there's not as many translators?
Oh, I don't think so. English
Mm,
translators are
there's a lack, is it?
much more
Much
than
more.
much
Okay.
more than Chinese translators. uh,
Okay.
but because of the language, I mean in intertextual and also the
Mm,
linguistic gaps.
mm,
So in syntax and some in grammar,
right.
it can't translate exactly the same with, as compared to English or Japanese.
Mm,
Mm.
I see. Okay. And the next question is that someone would like to ask regarding translation of Murakami's works is that there's currently only one book that's being translated in Bahasa Malaysia. So do you see the possibility of more of his works being translated into BM anytime soon?
Of course. But the first issue is you have to solve the problem of copyright because the
Mm,
copyright is really expensive. I read that
right.
HQ Hachiyong is 1 million US dollars
Oh my, that's a lot.
copyright. So
Oh,
for not only in Bahasa Melayu,
mm,
but for Chinese language also, the publishers is not capable to afford, right?
mm. So the biggest stumbling block is the copy to pay for the copyright. It's not so
Yeah,
much. Yeah,
because it's too expensive.
right,
Really
right.
expensive.
So if we get that, then we can consider. Hopefully, there's more works then.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sensei, for your response. I think that's all the question that we have for today. So with that, I want to wrap up today's session. Once again, thank you so much, Yap-sensei, for being with us here today and for introducing us to the world of Haruki Murakami, reading and translating Haruki Murakami. Really appreciate your time.
thank you. I
Thank
worked
you.
closely with Japan Foundation for the past 16 years.
Oh, yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, we really appreciate your support and for you being here today as well.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
All right.
Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay, and before we end the session today, we would like to ask everyone to help us fill up the questionnaire so we can get your feedback and improve for our future events. You can click on the link that is shared in the comments, or you can scan the QR code that's been displayed right now on the screen. On behalf of JFKL, I hope everyone enjoyed the session today. Thank you once again for joining. And if we didn't get to answer any of your questions, I'm really sorry about that, but we hope that you enjoy it nonetheless. We have one more coming up in March, so please keep a lookout for updates on our socials, JFKL on Facebook and JF Kuala Lumpur on our Instagram or our website, jfkl.org.my for the next episode of this talk series. Take care, everyone. Have a great week ahead, and I'll see you soon.